Yeah. Um, well, what what Bob Lazar was working on um was an ancient craft. I believe, I remember seeing an interview with him. I can't remember where, but I remember seeing an interview where he said that the craft that he was working on possibly was a part of an archaeological discovery. And if that's so, then that means that craft that he was working on was probably hundreds, maybe if not thousands of years old. My guess is hundreds of years old. I haven't done any remote viewing um, with that story of Bob, but yeah, I do believe he to be true. But the craft that he was working on is ancient. The craft, their technology is like ours. It's constantly evolving day to day, and um, the technology that they have now is just no pun intended, out of this world. It is magic, absolute magic. The crafts that they have and the technology that they have now has truly advanced. Um, and what Bob was working on was an ancient craft that they somehow found somewhere buried under the earth. Whether it was placed there, I mean, it's a possibility. It was placed there, you know. Yeah, yeah. I've heard about Chris Bledsoe. Chris. He make some kind of premonition. Yeah, it was a premonition like Easter that Jesus is coming back. Let me tell you something, guys. Anybody who's watching this video, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but Christianity, specifically Jesus, the story of Jesus in the Bible is a combination of 8 different ancient religions. Jesus never existed to begin with. I'm sorry to tell you, you can research it yourself. You know, Chris, you know, and I can debunk his prophecy. I guess that's what he's calling, or his prediction is because let's say, he Chris, experienced his encounter, let's say in the Middle East, then it wouldn't be Jesus. It would be Muhammad, right? It would be, it would be Allah. It's it's coincidental that all of a sudden it's Jesus because he's a Christian and he is in America. So obviously it's going to be Jesus, right? He's going to see that as Jesus. But for me, listen, I these creatures, they're not aliens, like I've said many times before, they're not aliens. These individuals are organically artificial intelligence. And the religion has nothing to do with these creatures. The story of the Anunnaki, I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I know it's attached to the Bible in some shape, form. Listen, anything that has to do with the Bible, anything that has to do with religion, these creatures are not a part of any of this. This is the problem with human beings. Human beings always try to attach something to give it meaning. And in this case, religion. They always try to attach religion and being blessed and being a sign of angels or demons. None of that exists. These creatures have nothing to do with anything biblical. They have nothing to do with religion. So his prediction of Jesus returning during Easter is not going to happen. If I was him, I would have pushed for at least 40 years Jesus would return. People have been saying this for ever since the story of Christ came to be. The only thing that's going to return on Easter is the Easter Bunny. I'm sorry to say, nothing is going to happen. As far as like the planetary alignment that is going to be taking place, some kind of planetary alignment, yeah, that's going to take place because that's in astrology. As far as Jesus coming back, listen, I hate to tell you this, but Jesus does not exist. He's never existed. I remote viewed um, the story of Jesus, and Jesus never existed. Yeah, Stephen Greer. Stephen Greer is another person. I don't know what. I would like to think he's a psyop. I don't think Stephen Greer believes in any of the stuff that he says. I think he just says it because, of fame. With fame comes money, right? So maybe it's for money, but I think he's more of a psyop. I think he's spreading misinformation. And the whole thing with the Booga Spear, I did remote viewing on the Booga Spear, and the Booga Spear is not real. It's not a real thing. It's not an alien artifact because that's a crude material. And like I said before, these creatures, their technology is way more advanced than, a crude metal ball, okay? That was designed by human beings. It is a hoax, it is not real. The real orbs that exist, are made of a liquid, organic, artificial material. Um, it's beyond or way beyond our technology. And it is not made of a crude metal. These creatures made these orbs based on the simulation that they created. So everything, even with the spacecraft that I was in, it's organic. Everything is organically artificial. Like, I'll give you a really good example. The veins in our arms that makes us human beings, right? Picture a vein that's not real, that was artificially designed to look like a real vein. And it is a piece of technology. That's what these creatures are. That's what their crafts are. That's what these orbs are. They're organically artificially designed. So all these, individuals talking about crafts being, made from a metal type um, material. Listen, maybe in ancient history, maybe um, it existed at one point in time, you know, but their technology right now is everything is shape shifting, everything is, manipulated. Everything's being manipulated. You know, our timeline, our lives, how we see things, how they live, our thoughts, our ideas, everything is being shaped and formed as we speak. That is how powerful these creatures are. And I'm so tired of people talking about aliens. They're not aliens. They don't come from they don't come from another star system. They're here. They've always been here. There is there is nothing, we try to think of ourselves as something special, that we're here because, you know, this is where we are, but we're put here. If you look at the design of the universe and you look at how everything is so far away from us, and you look and see that we're trapped. We're on this big ball of dirt, hurtling through the universe millions of miles an hour. And out there is blackness. There's nothing out there, and we're trapped. There's a reason. The same reason, the same experiment that we do on rats, when we trap them like a rat, it's the same experiment that's taking place with us. There's a reason why, you know, there is just us. It's just us.